Plastic tea bags are releasing billions of microplastics into your cup with every brew, and the tea companies behind brands like Celestial Seasonings and Tazo have convinced millions of Americans to pay extra money for these plastic bags disguised as luxury. Since 1996, those beautiful pyramid-shaped tea bags marketed as silken and premium have been releasing 11.6 billion plastic particles per cup. That's billion with a B. While the cheaper paper bags you might have switched away from turn out to be the safer choice in many cases. This microplastic pollution crisis came to light when researcher Nathalie Tufengchi at McGill University made a shocking discovery about tea bags. And I'm going to walk you through the research published in Environmental Science and Technology Journal that changed everything we know about tea bags, show you which brands are putting plastic in your daily cup, and explain what this means for your health as of 2026. Those microplastics scientists keep finding in human blood, lungs, hearts, and even brains didn't get there by accident, and your morning tea might be one of the delivery systems. We're also dealing with BPA and other endocrine disruptors leaching from these plastic tea bags at brewing temperatures. The problem came to light in 2019 when Nathalie Tufengchi at McGill University in Montreal was working on water quality research in her lab. During a break, she made herself a cup of tea and noticed something odd about her tea bag, which looked like it was made of plastic rather than paper. The irony runs deep here because Tufengchi literally studies microplastics in water for a living, yet even she hadn't realized what her tea bags were made of until that moment. That's how effectively tea companies have hidden this in plain sight, using marketing language that never mentions the word plastic. Tufengchi and her colleague Laura Hernandez decided to test these bags, so they bought 4 popular tea brands that came in those clear pyramid bags, removed all the tea leaves to isolate just the bag material, and steeped these empty bags in water heated to 203 degrees Fahrenheit, which is normal tea brewing temperature. What they found was staggering. A single tea bag released an average of 11.6 billion microplastic particles and 3.1 billion nanoplastic particles into the water, and the materials turned out to be nylon 66 and PET, which is polyethylene terephthalate, the same plastic used in water bottles and stockings. The researchers noted this was thousands of times greater than the microplastic content found in table salt, which had been making headlines at the time, and their findings were published in Environmental Science and Technology Journal, establishing the foundational research on tea bag microplastic pollution. Now I need to be honest about something. Other scientists criticized this study in 2020, saying the methodology might have overcounted the particles, and the German Federal Institute for Risk Assessment ran their own tests and concluded the real number was probably 2 to 3 orders of magnitude lower, meaning potentially 100 to 1,000 times less than the McGill team reported. But here's the thing, even if we divide 11.6 billion by 1,000, we're still talking about millions of plastic particles per cup. And what happened next confirms that plastic tea bags absolutely release enormous quantities of particles, even if we don't know the exact number. Before we get to all the other studies, you need to understand why tea bags create a worse problem than other plastic products you might use, and it all comes down to temperature and steeping time. When you brew tea, you're pouring water that's between 203 and 212 degrees Fahrenheit over these plastic bags. But PET, one of the main materials used, begins to soften around 140 degrees Fahrenheit for the type used in beverage bottles, which means you're pouring boiling water at temperatures significantly above what this material was designed for. PET was designed for cold beverage containers, single-use room temperature or colder, and nobody ever intended for you to pour boiling water over it. Nylon 6, another common material, has a glass transition temperature of just 117 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the point where the plastic's molecular structure becomes more flexible and begins releasing particles more readily. At brewing temperature, this material is about 90 degrees Fahrenheit above that glass transition temperature, and the elevated temperature makes it more susceptible to releasing particles along with chemicals like BPA and phthalates. Even polypropylene, the most heat-resistant of these materials with a melting point around 320 degrees Fahrenheit, was found to release the most particles in one study. A 2023 study noted that even food-grade plastics can increase their release of particles and chemicals when heated to brewing temperatures of 203 to 212 degrees Fahrenheit. The FDA's food-grade safety designations were established based on standard temperatures, without accounting for nanoparticle release at brewing temperatures. After that McGill study made headlines in 2019, researchers around the world started testing tea bags, and what they found confirmed the problem again and again. University College Dublin tested 6 popular tea bag brands in 2021 and discovered that 5 out of 6 contained plastic, with 4 having polypropylene in varying amounts, 1 being almost entirely nylon, and only 1 being truly biodegradable. The nylon bag released an estimated 1.3 billion microplastics per bag. The 2022 study found that up to 94% of plastic tea bags released microplastics after soaking. Researchers in 2023 didn't just find microplastics, but also discovered phthalate esters, which are chemicals called DEHP and DIBP, both known endocrine disruptors, and DEHP, which is di-2-ethylhexylphthalate, classified as a probable carcinogen by the EPA, showed cancer risk for both children and adults. Meaning we're not just talking about plastic particles, but about toxic chemicals that mess with your hormones. The most alarming study came in December 2024 from the Autonomous University of Barcelona, where they tested nylon, polypropylene, and cellulose bags, and found that polypropylene bags released approximately 1.2 billion particles per milliliter, with the average particle size being only 136.7 nanometers. That matters because this was the first study to show that tea bag particles are absorbed by human intestinal cells and penetrate into the cell nucleus, where your DNA is stored. The lead researcher Ricardo Marcos Duoder from the Autonomous University of Barcelona said something chilling when he noted that all the data shows that the smaller the size, the higher the uptake into the cells, and the smaller the size, the higher the risk. And he specifically pointed out that cancer is really related to genotoxicity, or damage to the DNA. Researchers in 2025 confirmed that particle release increases with both temperature and brewing time, found that synthetic polymer particles remain stable and resist breaking down while natural cellulose particles decompose, and discovered particle concentrations reaching up to 170 billion particles per liter. These bags also contain 5 to 15% unidentified additives by weight, meaning nobody even knows what those chemicals are. We know plastic is getting into our tea, but the real question is where it goes once we drink it, and scientists have now found microplastics in virtually every human organ they've looked at. Researchers in Amsterdam tested healthy blood donors in 2022 and found plastic particles in 17 out of 22 people, which is 77%, with PET being the most common, followed by polystyrene and polyethylene. Researchers in Amsterdam tested healthy blood donors in 2022 and found plastic particles in 17 out of 22 people, which is 77%, with PET being the most common, followed by polystyrene and polyethylene. The University of Hull examined living lung tissue from 13 people in 2022 and found 39 microplastics in 11 of those 13 samples, with polypropylene and PET fibers being the most common, which are the exact same plastics used in tea bags. Researchers in 2021 found microplastics in human placenta for the first time, on both the maternal side and the fetal side, and in 2023 they found 9 types of microplastics across 5 different heart tissue types from cardiac surgery patients, with some of these particles measuring up to 469 micrometers in size. February of this year brought something truly disturbing when researchers published findings in the Journal of Nature and Medicine showing microplastics in human brain tissue, with the concentration having increased by approximately 50% between 2016 and 2024, meaning in less than a decade the amount of plastic in our brains has gone up by half. Brains from individuals with dementia contained up to 10 times higher microplastic levels than healthy controls. The study that should frighten you most came out in March 2024, when the New England Journal of Medicine published research on patients who had surgery to clear blocked arteries in their neck, which are called carotid arteries, and supply blood to your brain. The surgeons analyzed the plaque they removed from these arteries, and in patients where they found micro and nanoplastics in that plaque, those patients had a fourfold increased risk of heart attack, stroke, or death over the next 34 months. If you had microplastics in your arterial plaque, you were more than 4 times as likely to have a heart attack, stroke, or die within 3 years. Dr. Philip Landrigan from Boston College wrote a response to this study saying, "The evidence was strongly suggestive of causality, and he noted, it is hard for me to imagine how other factors could account for such a large increase in risk. Your tea bags are not the only source of microplastics because they're everywhere, in our food and in our water. But tea bags represent a uniquely concentrated exposure, especially if you're drinking multiple cups a day. And here's the thing, it's completely unnecessary." Let me tell you about one of the most successful marketing cons of the past 30 years. The pyramid tea bag was invented in the mid-1990s and hit the American market hard. Made out of nylon mesh and sealed with ultrasonic welding, manufacturers had a good reason for the design because traditional flat paper bags required really tiny tea pieces, grades called fannings and dust, since there wasn't enough room for whole leaves to expand, while the pyramid shape provided 50% more room for the tea to unfurl properly. The transparent mesh also let you see the tea inside, which is powerful marketing because you could see those big, beautiful whole leaves, and Americans fell for it completely. But here's where it gets interesting. The manufacturing cost for a pyramid tea bag runs about 1 to 3 cents per bag. That's 1 to 3 pennies. But these bags retail for 15 cents to 50 cents or more per bag, which is a markup of 5 to 50 times over manufacturing cost, compared to paper bags that retail for 2 to 10 cents. You're paying massively more for plastic. The marketing language works brilliantly, because they don't say plastic, they say silken, they say pyramid, they say sachet, they say mesh, and Tea Forte describes its PET bags, which is the water bottle plastic, as an elegant signature that allows tea to fully and luxuriantly unfurl, framing the plastic as a luxury feature. The pyramid tea bag market was valued at over $250 million in 2023, according to industry estimates, and is projected to continue growing, driven by premiumization trends among younger American consumers, the very people most likely to care about sustainability if they actually knew what they were drinking from. Most brands don't disclose the plastic content on their packaging at all, and multiple consumer advocates, including Consumer Reports, confirm it's impossible to tell whether a tea bag is truly plastic-free just by looking at it. A 2021 study found that 68% of bags that appeared to be cellulose, meaning paper, actually contained polyester, polyethylene, or polypropylene, because the heat seal function in most paper bags requires polypropylene woven between paper fibers, typically 20 to 30% of the bag by weight. Some paper bags are even treated with a chemical called epichlorohydrin to prevent them from tearing when wet. And that chemical is classified as a probable human carcinogen by the EPA. You switch to what you thought were paper bags to be safer, and they might still have plastic in them. Let me break down the brand landscape for you, because this is information tea companies don't make easy to find, and I'm going to focus on the brands you actually see in American grocery stores. Celestial Seasonings, one of America's most popular brands sold in virtually every supermarket from Walmart to Whole Foods, has bags that contain food-grade polypropylene fibers, which has been confirmed since 2014, and they haven't changed it. The Center for Environmental Health has petitioned them to remove it, even though the company has claimed its bags are completely compostable and fully biodegradable, which is directly contradicted by the polypropylene content. If you've got those iconic boxes with the sleepy bear in your pantry right now, you're drinking plastic with every cup. Tazo, which you'll find at Target, Kroger, and basically every major chain, has bags that contain a blend of natural fibers with polypropylene or synthetic resin with nylon or polyester strings. They committed to eliminating single-use plastics by 2025, but I can't confirm that's been completed, and their pyramid sachets are still widely available on shelves. Lipton has the most complicated situation because they're the #1 tea brand in America by sales volume. Their standard black tea bags use compostable manila hemp and are actually plastic-free, but their green tea bags, decaf bags, chai bags, and herbal bags contain thermoplastic fibers. Their pyramid bags, which they market as premium, are made from PET plastic, the same stuff as water bottles. Their cold brew bags use PLA, which we'll talk about in a minute. So depending on which Lipton product you grab at the store, you might be getting plastic or you might not. Bigelow, an American family company that's been around since 1945, has standard string and tag bags that are confirmed plastic-free, made from wood pulp and abaca fiber. But the status of their pyramid bags, which they sell as their premium line called Bigelow Benefits, remains unclear, and the company hasn't been transparent about the materials. Twinings, which has massive distribution across American retailers, uses a mix of materials depending on the product line. Their standard tea bags contain polypropylene for heat sealing, though they've been working on plastic-free alternatives. Their pyramid bags are made from cornstarch PLA, which is better than petroleum plastic but still releases particles, and we'll get to why PLA isn't the solution everyone thinks it is. Stash Tea, based in Portland, Oregon, has bags that are 100% cellulose fiber, machine-folded and pressed without glue or heat seal, making them completely plastic-free. They're widely available at natural food stores and increasingly at mainstream grocers. Republic of Tea, which positions itself as premium but is sold at most major supermarkets now, uses unbleached paper bags made from wood pulp fibers with no plastic, no PLA, no chlorine, no glue, no epichlorohydrin, no GMOs, and they package them in reusable metal tins without individual wrappers. This is one of the cleanest options on American shelves. Numi Organic Tea, a California-based company you'll find at Whole Foods, Sprouts, and natural food stores, uses unbleached manila hemp fiber bags with cotton strings and recycled tags printed with soy ink, with no plastic of any kind. Their CEO, Ahmed Rahim, has publicly urged the entire American tea industry to eliminate plastic. Traditional Medicinals, which specializes in herbal teas and is massive in the wellness space across American health food stores, uses sustainably harvested abaca and wood pulp with organic cotton strings. They're BPI-certified compostable and completely plastic-free. Puka, a UK brand that's gained significant traction in American natural food stores and at Target, uses abaca and wood pulp sealed with an organic cotton stitch and a unique folding process. They were the first company to use organic, non-GMO cotton strings, and their bags are certified home compostable. Harney & Sons, a New York-based company that's become hugely popular across America, is the perfect example of the premium trap. Their standard paper tea bags are 100% plastic-free, compostable, no epichlorohydrin, fastened with a string knot, but their premium silken sachets were made from nylon 6/6 petroleum-based plastic. They began switching to sugarcane-based compostable sachets in 2021 and have reached about 90% conversion, but some products like their hot cinnamon spice sachets still use plastic. The regular bags are safe while the expensive premium bags contain plastic. Tetley, which has decent distribution in American supermarkets, transitioned their round tea bags to plant-based materials in 2018, but their specialty pyramid bags still contain plastic components, and their string and tag bags use polypropylene for the heat seal. Several brands, both American and international, have switched to something called PLA, or polylactic acid, which is made from corn starch instead of petroleum, and this is being marketed heavily in the United States as the eco-friendly solution. But here's the problem with PLA that American consumers need to understand. It requires industrial composting at 140 degrees Fahrenheit or higher to decompose. It will not break down in your home compost in a landfill or in the ocean. And here's the kicker. Fewer than 150 composting facilities in the entire United States accept bioplastics according to recent surveys. Think about that. There are over 330 million people in America, and fewer than 150 facilities can actually compost these supposedly eco-friendly tea bags. Unless you live near one of these facilities and have access to their pickup service, your PLA tea bag is going to a landfill where it will sit for decades or centuries, just like regular plastic. The Consumer Research Group, which said brands should not market PLA bags as plastic-free because PLA is still a type of plastic, and claims of being microplastics-free for PLA bags are unfortunately not true either. Recent studies confirm that even PLA and cellulose-based bags release significant numbers of nano-range particles, which means PLA is better than petroleum plastic, but it's not the solution people think it is. When American consumers started finding out about this, some companies began to respond, but the pressure hasn't been nearly as strong as it should be. The McGill study came out in 2019 and got some media coverage in the United States, but it didn't spark the same level of consumer activism that happened in other countries. France banned plastic tea bags in their 2020 anti-waste law, which took effect in 2022, and the European Union's new packaging regulation will require all tea bags to be industrially compostable by February 2028 across all 27 member states. Meanwhile, the FDA in the United States still considers nylon, PET, and polypropylene food-grade materials with migration limits but no specific regulations targeting plastic in tea bags, and no standards that account for nanoparticle release at brewing temperatures. The FDA's approach to food packaging safety has been criticized by environmental health advocates as being decades behind the science, particularly when it comes to microplastics. Consumer pressure has proven more effective than regulation in other countries, with companies changing because people demanded it. But the problem in America is awareness. Surveys consistently show most American tea drinkers assume their bags are paper only and compostable, with no idea plastic is involved, and tea companies have done absolutely nothing to correct that misconception. For over 25 years, tea companies have been convincing Americans to pay extra money for plastic bags marketed as luxury, with the pyramid bags, the silken sachets, the mesh bags all releasing billions of plastic particles into our cups with every brew, while many of the cheaper paper bags, the ones that don't look as fancy and come in basic cardboard boxes, are often the plastic-free option. You've been paying more to get more plastic, and the companies selling you this stuff have been laughing all the way to the bank. Your tea bags are not the only source of microplastics in your life, because these particles are everywhere, in our food, our water, our air. But tea represents a uniquely concentrated, completely unnecessary exposure, especially if you're drinking multiple cups a day, every single day, for years or decades. We now know these particles accumulate in human organs. We know they're in our blood, our lungs, our hearts, our brains. We have direct clinical evidence linking them to increased risk of heart attack and stroke, and we know concentrations are increasing over time. The most effective action you can take is straightforward. Switch to loose-leaf tea or verified plastic-free paper bags, and here are the brands that have proven plastic is completely unnecessary. Republic of Tea, Numi Organic Tea, Traditional Medicinals, Stash Tea, and Puka. All of these brands are available at major American retailers and offer completely plastic-free tea bags. If you see a pyramid bag, if you see mesh, if you see silken, treat it as plastic until proven otherwise. And if you're buying paper bags, check with the company to confirm they're truly plastic-free, because appearances can be deceiving. The solution already exists. We already know how to make tea bags without plastic, because we've been doing it for over a century, and American consumers just got fooled into thinking plastic was premium. It's time to stop paying more for less, and your health along with your wallet will thank you. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking around through 19 minutes of tea bag deep diving. I know microplastics aren't exactly the most cheerful topic, but this is the kind of information that companies aren't going to volunteer, and somebody needs to talk about it. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments what other everyday products you'd like me to investigate. Are there other things sitting in your kitchen right now that might be secretly made of plastic? Other premium products that turned out to be a downgrade? Drop a comment and let me know what you want covered next. And if you're interested in more videos like this one, breaking down the science, following the money, and figuring out what's actually safe versus what's just marketing, check out the playlist on your screen. I've got more deep dives into products you use every day, and I think you'll find them just as eye-opening as this one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.